Good evening and welcome to the October AEVA Queensland meeting. Thank you very much for braving the weather, and it's nice to see you all. A couple of new people, just hands up for new people. Haven't been here before, once or twice. Okay, lovely, thank you for coming along. Tonight I'll do my normal talk. Peter is going to give us a chat about something he wants to look at doing over at Coochiemudlo Island, and then Francisco is going to give us a rundown on the 1,000 things that he does with his week and the fact that he's just bought the Atto 3 just to have something more to work on. So we'll get started. Toilets just down the corridor for anyone who is new. You can skip that one, mate. Okay, charging infrastructure update. My normal go-to beginning of the meeting. Last month I mentioned that St. Lucia was no longer on plug share because it was broken, and it's been replaced. It's back online and it's now the fastest free DC fast charger for the CBD area. Copping an absolute hammering according to the check-ins on plug share by every Uber and Didi driver that I've seen at my local chargers when I've stolen a free charge myself. But yeah, these ones still limited down to 29. So I can only imagine it's a matter of time before St. Lucia goes to 29. But for the time being, that's full power. Next slide, mate. Okay, since our last meeting, we had the Tesla supercharger and the EV networks put in some chargers at Indooroopilly. And does everyone know we're having a meeting there on Sunday? We're having a meeting there on Sunday. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't use social media, but yeah, there's already a fair bit of interest in that one. It'll be around the supercharger somewhere. It's a little bit difficult to find, but I believe you go in off Stamford Road and gate 10, and then you go in, something like that. So
watch out for all the road works on Model Road. You can't turn at KFC.
Yeah, we'll yeah. Just message me if you don't find it. But yeah, basically 5 p.m. The shops shut around about 6 o'clock, so there's a little bit of time if you're not wanting to talk to us and you just want to see some cars, and then you can go and do some shopping or something. But yeah, very nice addition to that. Now, what will be interesting about this site, these are version 3 superchargers, so they do up to 250 kilowatt, and these EV networks chargers are 50 kilowatt. Sometimes they have different modules and they do 75, but these ones are 50. Now, these ones are 40 cents and these ones are 69 cents, and obviously Tesla only. So what it will be interesting to see at this site is if these are constantly blocked by Tesla cars as well as the supercharger. But I've seen a couple of comments when I post on social media that this stuff comes out, and it does say that I've seen it a couple of times that all the Tesla bays have been full. So it's not like people are holding back. And it's my understanding that that corridor between Kenmore and the CBD is probably the highest sort of per capita area for EV ownership. So you'll probably find that Indooroopilly is a bit of a pain when it comes to its location in Moggle Road. Just like the ins and outs of getting into the shopping centre, but in terms of its geographic spot between, you know, the sort of the western suburbs there and the CBD, it's a very good location. So if they could just fix up the road sort of portion of it to be fantastic. And obviously very good for inner city people that have apartments and don't have access to car park charging. Next one, mate. All right, look at this fantastic Ampol site. This is my local. They've just completely, obviously there's no charger there. They've just redone my local Ampol, so you'll probably might see this if you're getting one at your Ampol, but there was a massive like LPG gas cylinder thing here, and they've put these two sites in. Excuse me. It's definitely going there because I asked the lady and I said, oh, where's the EV charger going? She goes, oh, they've just built those car parks there. So I know that's boring as hell, that photo, but I'll show you that in the future, that the Ampols will get rolled out as with the Future Fuels Fund funding. So, and that's not too far from my house, so that's the one. That's why I care about that one. So. The Bayside finally opened this week, I think it was. Finally, 275 kilowatts. So that's, as I've mentioned in the last couple of months, that's filling a big gap out on the Bayside there. I reckon we could still do with another couple out there though. I don't think anyone knows it's open because it hasn't seen much use yet. So I want a photo of Gary charging there. Might be good for our future Cleveland shows as well. That one, last one was 40 cents a kilowatt hour too. So this is not in Queensland. This is down in Melbourne, but I just thought I'd put it in that BP are rolling out the first of their sites in Australia. They've got a 75 kilowatt tritium, the same as the ones that were on the last slide. And there's no pricing yet, but I mean, I'm not really inspired by this type of site where it's a petrol station putting in a tritium charger. The app, you can find the stuff on the app, but the app is the same as the EV Networks app. There's nothing really BP about this at all. It's just, you know, another offering. So we'll see what happens with the BP and the Ampol stuff. What I did find interesting though was that in England they have subscriptions, and you can pay £8 a month and you get different lower rates of charging rate. So I thought that might be interesting to see if we get that type of thing over here, where maybe you paid, you know, kind of like the Costco model or something, you pay something and then get stuff a bit cheaper. But I guess in my mind, when you're paying 30 cents at home, or if that's your thing, or you're using your solar, then it's quite hard to compete with that anyway. But perhaps if you do long trips frequently, then maybe this is something that's interesting for you. These bottom rates here, the higher rates are just, I figure contactless is if you're just don't want anything to do with other than turning up to the, is that right, Les? They just turn up and, yeah. But yeah, so, yes, that's the future. Subscriptions, hopefully, or maybe. Each month I just do a little update on where we're up to with the 24 chargers that are getting rolled out in rural Queensland, or this was 2 up and there's 22 to go. Nothing new in that space. Longreach and Kingaroy are the only 2. Each month as what the new ones come on, I'll just let you know.
Does it have a large photo?
It says slide 10 of 24, mate, so. Page down. What have I got after that? I think it's pricing. Pricing. Tab 11, is it? Oh, no, okay. So for those of you that aren't familiar, I just bring this up every month. These orange dots represent future DC fast charging sites that have ARENA funding. Next to none of the dots on these built yet. So that's just, I just like to add that up there each month to reinforce that this is what the future looks like. Lots and lots of charging locations. So a lot of those are like Ampol and EV networks and things like that. So maybe like that one there's the EV networks one, and we've got Jindalee, and we've maybe one of these, Brookfield, Ampol, Castledine. So maybe a couple, but not many so far. So most of those are future ones.
Is there a deadline or a timeline?
No, I don't know. What I will do though, for next month, I'm going to try and itemise a lot of these in Brisbane, and maybe use some of my contacts to get closer scrutiny of where these sites are going to be, just so you can maybe be aware of where to expect some, and you can let me know. Pricing. Does anyone not know the pricing of EV charging? Everyone's pretty comfortable with it? You charge at home mainly? 30, 40, 60. Tesla superchargers, 69. Last month I mentioned if this little calculation here, for some reason the petrol subsidy hasn't kicked in. I don't know what's happening there. Does anyone know what's happening there? Like yeah, it's been what, 3 or 4 weeks, so I thought it might have kicked in by now, but
it's only applicable on when it comes in. So there's so much storage capacity in Australia.
yeah.
The fuel that they're using doesn't have the extra cost.
Yeah.
So when they use that up, then it'll be applied to the new.
Okay. Well, it hasn't changed too much since last month, but each month I'm going to report, because if you have 2 cars, one doing 2 similar, an ICE and an EV, one's doing 7 litres per 100, one's doing 14, then if you halve the fuel price, you get the equivalent DC fast charging price for petrol. So that's what this is trying to achieve. So unleaded at the moment would be the equivalent of charging at 88 cents per kilowatt hour, if that's not too technical. That's it for EV infrastructure. Let's cover off a few things we're doing event-wise. Once again, Indooroopilly this Sunday at 5 p.m. We'll all have fun trying to work out where the thing is, but supercharger. On the 26th, there's at the Brackenridge Tavern, there's a few EV owners meet up there once a month for a coffee and a chat. That's on the 26th at 10 a.m. The UQ guys, as I mentioned last month, are unveiling their 2022 cars. Those guys are going to come and chat in February. I did try to get them the last couple of months, but you know, uni students. So on the 16th of November, we'll have the next hall meeting. I thought I might, if I've all got it organised, I'll let you know, but I'm going to have Dominic from Volta, who is they're a Brisbane battery building company, and they do all batteries and storage. So they're going to come and have a talk about what they're doing. A couple of our EV events, we've had the Charging Australia guys, and they do, they've got a few EVs and they go around and give you a boost if you've run out of battery, and they're going to come along and talk. And I'm going to try and get a MG ZS EV in to have a look at. despite my best attempts, haven't had many takers, but I have seen one on the road in the last month, so they are here. There's a next reasonable size event is on November 27, the Solar Citizens are doing one out at Sanford. So I'll probably send out an invite to all of you guys with the actual link to register to that. That'll probably be this week. And I'm going to talk with the committee members about perhaps having just a beer in December sometime at the Breakfast Creek Hotel for our Christmas party, if that's suitable for everyone. Cars and alcohol don't mix that well, but you know, you don't have to drink to have a good time. I don't know if I'm not going to book a whole room. I think that I'd rather just have it a casual. Yes, it would be. And I'll probably do another EV catch-up at another location November and December, but that's pretty much it. This time of the year it starts to get a bit lighter on the event stuff, but just quickly, next year there's already a few things in the works. Some of the councils have contacted us to do something similar to the Cleveland show, maybe not as big as that, on the north side, and the Gayndah Council have contacted me to get a few EVs out there for the Gayndah Orange Festival, and that happens each year, and they do a parade down the middle of the road, middle of their main street, and they want some EVs there. So there's a bit of a logistical consideration with getting EVs there, seeing as the closest charger is the Gympie charger, and it's about 300k to go there and to back to Gympie, so long range EVs only. But yeah, I'm not sure about that one 100%, because if there's 5 of us that end up going to it, which would be great, how are we going to all fight for the Gympie charger? So I'm not too sure.
It's faster. If you go 2 chargers up, it's only 100 kV, it's faster.
What do you mean?
Go Maryborough and the next one up.
You reckon it's faster to go to Maryborough and then back inland?
Because that road's wide,
yeah.
The one's open.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that closer to the time, but yeah, a few things in the works anyway. I'd like to go out there just to visit somewhere different.
It's not.
Invite David to
I was going to say something, but I won't. Right, general news. Last month I mentioned that the Atto 3 and the iX that we had at the show have arrived. The Kia Niro and the MG ZS EV are also here. And I believe the Volvos are here as well. Is yours isn't brand new, is it? Is yeah, 6 months old, but is it dual motor, is it? Yeah, dual motor, yeah. So they've brought out a single motor and the non-X C40 recharge, so. There is? Is it? On display? Oh, okay, perfect. We might check that out on Sunday. Yeah, those cars are coming late this year. There was announced a Polestar 3 as well. I was going to mention that, but it looks like that's not coming until 2024. So you can Google that stuff. Next one, bud. Oh, the dual cab Ute, first one to the market. The roll off the tongue LDV ET60. Lucky I had that written, because that is. Can't they just like not do this to presenters, you know? 70,000 with 330k range and only 750 kilo payload, which means that includes you has to come off that number. So, and your family. John Cadogan has done a video on this and it breaks down the numbers quite significantly about how this works, but 750 is not much of a payload for a ute. It's not four-wheel drive either. I think it's two-wheel drive. So, I don't know, maybe that fits some people's user case, but if I was going to buy that car, it would have to be definitely four-wheel drive. So, we'll see what else they bring. Not exactly a cheap price tag for a car that's in the cheap bracket for their other cars either. Okay, a couple other bits and pieces. Nathan's not here this month, but he did point out to me that the State of Electric Vehicles report from the EV Council has come out. And I'm just going to cherry pick some of the screenshot stuff. If you go onto the electricvehiclecouncil.com.au, you can get the full report. It's 56 pages. It's got a lot of data on there. It tells you all the different models that are available, cars, bikes, trucks, buses, all the stuff. It's got breakdowns by state. It's got a lot of stuff. So I'm just going to cherry pick, not to PowerPoint you to death, but essentially year to date, we're up to 26,000 total EVs. So that's full battery electric and FEVs. So we're doing quite well. These numbers here, the Model 3, the Model Y. Now, interestingly, the MG HS FEV is coming in number 3 for sales, and then the Kona and the Polestar. Yeah, they're the top 5 for this year so far. There's 45 EV models available to purchase at the moment with 95 variants. So the Kona extended range and the Kona standard range, that type of thing. So 35 FEVs and 60 BEVs. And the charging highlights, there are, I mean, I don't use the AC stuff that much, but this is the stuff that interests me a bit more. But 274 DC fast chargers with 82 rapids, and there's 10 for Queensland, and from what I could count, most of those were Tesla superchargers, and about half and half. So EV Networks has a few. There's the Bundamba, Coomera, Townsville, Coochiemudlo Creek, and then the rest are pretty much Tesla superchargers. And they rate at over 100 kilowatt speed, so hopefully we'll get to see that number increase over the next few years. And here's a bit of a chart of the sales. So obviously 2011, 2019 was a big year for a lot of people. That's when the Kona Model 3 Leaf 40 kilowatt hour, a lot of those more modern EVs came to market. There was a massive jump there. Obviously we had COVID, and then, but we're accelerating away now. So at this rate, this is only year to date. So you can see, yeah, we might be hitting 30,000. That'd be good. Excuse me. Excuse me. Nathan's done similar charts to this in the previous months, but there's a breakdown of the models. The most interesting thing on this chart to me is the Porsche Taycan has sold that many. They're a $300,000 car, and you know, I mean, that's not really that much more than the Kia EV6, but I guess supply's limited, so I guess it's not really much to take away. But I don't even know what a Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross is. I should look that up. But that's obviously a FEV. Any good? Anyone? There's 4. Okay.
Starting at only 190,000.
Okay. But yeah, then on this graph you can see the extent at which the Teslas are clearly dominating. And with the Model Y only just coming to market in August or whatever it was, July, August, we can expect the Model Y will probably overtake the Model 3 or at least equal it. So that's really it for me. Thank you very much for that. We've got Peter, who's going to have a little... Are you going to ask us questions, or are you going to... Is that how you're planning on...
Well, I was going to go through
what the premise is?
Okay, cool. 2.5 years ago, I bought a place on Coochiemudlo Island. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's off Victoria Point. And I'm just going to talk about what I'm trying to achieve there. So we can go to the next one, please. Right. Okay. Looking at the census, Coochie, we're 25 years older than average. Our personal income is lower than most of the rest of Queensland. But we volunteer at twice the rate of the rest of Australia and Queensland, which I don't quite get. We've also got twice the rate of arthritis, heart disease and stroke, and 3 times the rate of lung conditions. So essentially, we're an older, poorer population, right? Coochiemudlo itself is a kilometre by a kilometre, essentially, so that it's not a big place. And you can say, well, you don't need cars because a lot of people on the island have cars, but when it's a night like tonight and you're getting off the ferry with all your shopping and you only got to walk 500 metres, but on a night like tonight, it's a long 500 metres. So a lot of people buy cars on the island. Can we just go to the next one, please? So why did I start doing this? Because what I'm trying to do is get personal transport vehicles on Coochie, golf carts essentially. Because if you go over there, it's a very small island, it's only 40k speed limit, it's good sort of conditions for it. And so we turn up there, we say, why don't you have golf carts? It was like poking the bear. Everyone went off. They said, you're an idiot. We've tried 15 times before. They won't let us do it, and da-da-da. You're just a fool to even try. So there's something basically wrong with me. I had to try. So that's why we're doing that. And the other thing is, hit the next one, please. When you start up a car, even a modern car with catalytic converter and everything, and it's all very environmental, none of that works for the first 3 minutes. It has to get to an operating temperature of 700 degrees. So for that first 3 minutes, you're driving a 1972 HQ. I mean, that's not the right numbers, but essentially that's what it is, right? So if you look at it, we can reduce it by 97%, the amount of CO2 per kilometre. It's quieter. You don't have all the stuff running out of the car. It's safer because for all the studies around the place, so that if you have slower vehicles, then generally everything tends to go a bit slower. It's easier for the pedestrians. As I've said, we're 25 years older than average, but we don't have old people on the island. Because if you want to get around Coochie, you've got to have a car. To have a car, you've got to put petrol in it. How do you get petrol to it? You go over to Victoria Point, fill up your jerry cans, carry the jerry cans to the ferry, put them on the ferry, and then carry them to your car and fill it up, right? And it just gets too hard for people when they get to 80-something. So if you look at the retirement village ads, they've got an old lady dragging a wheelie bin up to the street. It's not painting the house that's the problem, it's that little day-to-day stuff. So that's what we're trying to achieve. Next, please. Right. Other places already in Queensland that have got them, Hope Island, Sanctuary Cove. So there's 2,000 golf carts on Hope Island and Sanctuary Cove. And there's something like 11,000 people who live on those areas. And I can go through all the numbers for you, but it's actually safer to be driving a golf cart there than a car, looking at the last 20 years of crash stats. In New South Wales, if you would live within 1 kilometre of a golf course, you can drive to your golf course in your golf cart up the road. It's registered. In Victoria, it's 1.5. And there's a place in Florida called The Villages, and they've got 110,000 people and 60,000 registered golf carts. Right? Next, please. Right. So what I did was, I thought, okay, we'll do some research and find out some stuff. I didn't know any of this before I'd started it. So I put together a proposal, and my local member, Kim Richards, set up a meeting with the police, the council and the transport department, because under conditional registration, you've got to get the police to agree and the council to agree. So I put together a proposal, I've got a copy of it there, and we sat down with the police. Now, I always make it a rule never to argue with someone with a gun, but the police officer there was pretty obvious, in my personal opinion, that he had not even read the proposal. So he was not interested in even looking at anything. For example, they said, oh, it doesn't have seatbelts and indicators. So I opened up that, went to page 4 and said, well, these do. That's what we're talking about. Right? He said, oh, but what price of life, Peter? And I pointed at the other end of the table, which is the transport department guys, and I said, well, when they're building a new road, they use about $1.2 million per life. Next. As you can tell, I'm not popular with the police. Right? Okay. But they even said things like, when I quoted Hope Island of Sanctuary Cove, and they said, oh, that doesn't count because Hope Island's rich. They can afford to maintain their golf carts. Coochie isn't, and they won't. Right? So, anyway, so we had a meeting, and we've got, and then they said no, so then I appealed that decision, and then they said no, so then I appealed that, and then now it's currently with an assistant commissioner where I'm asking for a statement of facts because they made assertions in the meeting that aren't backed up by facts. Right? At the same time, we've got we had two petitions going, one by paper, one electronic, and that got some media exposure. Right? So at the moment, I'm going through that process. I don't know how to run a media campaign or anything, so if anyone's got any great ideas, I'll be really glad to talk to them. Yes?
So can I just understand the premise of what, so you're trying to get golf carts registered for people's transport on Coochie?
That is correct.
The premise of
Yes.
Coochie?
Yes. So, yeah.
You know that you can buy from China some vehicles that are almost like a car, they've got indicators, seat belts, all of that stuff.
Yep.
Except that obviously they wouldn't pass, the crash testing, but they would be better than a golf cart, and they are probably maybe about the same price.
I'm actually getting to that because they're called neighbourhood electric vehicles.
Something like that.
Yeah, and they are actually, I know you like your Teslas, but neighbourhood electric vehicles and golf carts are outselling Tesla 10 to 1 across the world. In Europe and North America, these vehicles are legal, so that if you're a plumber, say, in Florence, how do you get your plumbing gear to the centre of Florence? Because they don't like petrol cars, and they're small and compact. And yes, they are used in other parts of the world, but they don't pass ADRs, so they can't be registered in Australia. So, but that's the next thing. Yes. Okay. Right. So that's what I've been doing, appealing. Next, please. Right. Actually, do you want to click on one of those if we can? Because of the petitions, and this is the sort of stuff, this is Club Car. They're one of the biggest manufacturers of golf carts in the world, and they've just bought these. And I think this is what you're talking about, these sorts of things.
No, he's talking about the ones you buy off Alibaba for about 6,000 each. They're basically an electric bicycle with a cabin on it.
Oh, no.
It would be more like this sort of stuff.
Yeah, but they're basically an electric bicycle with a cabin on it. And you could have an electric bicycle with a cabin on it, and you wouldn't have any problems.
Right. Okay. These things will carry 300 kilos or whatever. The carts that I'm looking at is like a dual cab ute. It's got 4 seats and a fold down thing. And they're 20 grand brand new. So, because if you want to transport yourself and your family and your week's worth of shopping, you need a bit more than a bicycle. So, but anyway. So these are the enabled electric vehicles, and they're looking at those and doing about 40 k's an hour. Okay. Can we go to the next? I think that's about it. Right. Oh, actually, yeah, can you click on the... Yeah, that'll do about 40 kilometres an hour. Right, so it's a step up from the golf cart. So, okay, I think we'll just go, and I think that's about it. To the next slide. I think I'm done. Oh yes, now, on Coochie, we have no public transport. Right, so the Progress Association, now this has got nothing to do with me. This is my wife's thing, okay? I'd just like to emphasise, I've got nothing to do with it. I'm not responsible for it at all. It is all her thing. So they got a grant from the Gambling Association and they purchased this bus. So we're running that 5 days a week with volunteer drivers from 7:30 till 7:30. So we've actually had people on the island say, with this, I can stay on the island a little bit longer because it's just difficult for people to get around. If you're at the age where you don't feel comfortable driving a car or filling it up or whatever, this is the way to do it. And can we go to the next one, please?
Just in 12 hours, how much driving is that bus doing?
1,000 passengers a month, 100 litres of fuel a week. Just getting the fuel over is a logistical...
100 litres of fuel a week?
Yep.
Okay.
It's, if you want to get low fuel economy...
14 litres a day?
20, yeah. 5 days a week.
Oh, 5 days a week, not
yeah.
7 days a week?
No.
Okay.
No. So, and it's just a little hi-ace. But the thing is, you're sitting there and someone goes to get in it, you start it up, start the air conditioning going. And we've got a wheelchair thing on the back. So then while they're sitting there, the air conditioning's running, the engine's running, you're then putting the wheelchair in and meanwhile other people are getting in and all this sort of thing. Then you drive 500 metres, you stop, you keep the bus running and people get off and all that sort of thing. So as far as fuel economy goes, it sucks.
Yeah, well, that's the worst way to drive a petrol car.
Yep.
So it'd be interesting to see what a battery car would do.
That's what one of the things they're looking at is if they go for an electric bus, you gave me some detail and I passed that on to the guys and he checked it up. It's $100,000 because it's a bus designed to go at 100 kilometres an hour with everything in it. If you're only going to do, 20 or 30 kilometres an hour, your technology is fairly simple. So the future that we're hopefully looking at would be something like this, where it's only needs to do 20 or 30 kilometres an hour, and even just with sealed lead acid batteries, it's still going to be able to do the run. So, because just getting 100 litres of fuel a week is a problem. Okay, so that's hopefully the future. So, any questions about any of that so far? Yes, we're on the grid. We've got town water, we've got sewage, we don't have a fuel station. We've got a little cafe that's open a few hours a day, and we've got a bar that's open 4 days a week. So there's 852 people there as per the last census. So we've had a population boom, went from 750. But yeah, if we can get something like this, that's 25 grand. That's far more affordable than $100,000.
So is that the range of sort of price that you're looking at for something?
I don't know. It's that these guys are just looking at it, but
that was a gambling.
That was how we initially got the money for their first bus. That was $30,000. It's a second-hand grey import from Japan, so with a wheelchair thing at the back.
You'd have to get a couple of those though to get the same amount as the bus.
Well, the bus only got 8 people, 8 seats. So
is it always full?
No. But you do, sometimes we do have to pick up people at the ferry and come back and there's still people waiting there.
I just have a thought. Why don't you just go in for lots of IMFs from
What? Sorry, importer.
Mitsubishi AEVA is a early generation EV.
Yeah.
It's a small. It's like
Like a Corolla.
smaller than a Corolla.
Right.
But
Yeah, something like that.
Does it pass ADRs?
yeah, it was sold here.
Okay.
So the
What's the price?
prices are around about 15,000, I would think.
I think you can get them for about 10, if you import
Yeah.
them yourself. They're ADR compliant, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. They're about 10,
How much?
10 15,000, and it's a proper car that can be registered, and that solves pretty much all of your problems.
But you need you need more than 100k a range a day.
For the bus, I don't know, but for your own personal use, you would
You
need.
don't necessarily need that much, but your consumption was that high because of the aircon and stuff like that.
Oh, sorry for the yes, yeah, because
You're
well,
not
it's
travelling that far, but you're running aircon and stuff.
yeah, and you get up to 30 kilometres an hour, then put the brake on and stop and leave it running for 5 minutes while you're unloading people. So
Well, if people have
Okay.
ideas, feel free to email me and I'll pass them on to Peter. But thank you very much for that presentation.
thanks for your attention. Yep.
So I've got given permission to play with the car. So what I've been doing is trying to put a CAN bridge in between the vehicle computer so that I can control the inverter. I've more or less worked out how to drive the inverter, and I can drive it now. I did put one pedal driving, the same as the AEVA, the with 100% region is really, really good. So I've got most of it working. The only problem at the moment is that for some reason the car finds out that there is something in the middle, and maybe it'll drive for 5 minutes and then it'll cut out. I still haven't figured out why. The error code basically says that there is a timeout error, but I have checked the my board, and there is definitely nothing that is delaying it for long enough for the car to be able to tell. So there must be something else that is happening that I'm not aware of.
So why are you doing this?
Well, because my wife really doesn't want the car to use the brakes with the traction, with the cruise control. So basically she said, "Can you fix it?" So I said, "Yeah, I can try." But so the first step really is to get control of the inverter. That means that I can give it torque commands and then it will drive without the car sort of getting upset. So I've got that part sorted, so I can replicate the messages from the inverter, from the car to the inverter, and the inverter will actually drive. So I can tell it to do regen or braking without, no matter what the car is actually wanting to do, and it doesn't appear that the car cares. In other words, the car just sends a torque command and it doesn't care whether the inverter does what it's saying or not. So the only thing that I've got left at the moment is to try to figure out why it times out. And it's not it seems to be a bit random. Sometimes I put it in and maybe about a minute and then it times out. And then other times, I might drive for 5 minutes before it comes up with the error. So that's more or less where I've got to. I did manage to get plugs. So if I end up solving the problem, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a board that goes next to the original VCU, and then you just plug the original plug onto my board, and then you'll have another plug that goes into the original VCU, and then if you ever want to do a warranty claim, you just unplug it and say it doesn't work. But there is nothing really that you can do wrong, because all of the systems in the car have their own limits. So if you go and tell the inverter to go and do something stupid, it will actually stop and protect itself. So you can't actually tell it to go and overpower itself and blow it up. The car also has other protection mechanisms. So for example, if you try to regen too much power into the battery, it will tell the inverter to turn off. So I'm only modifying the torque command, which means that I still leave all of the other safety functions that the car has. So for example, in the case of a failure, the car can tell the inverter to turn off, and I do not stop those flags. So that way, in the case of a crash, for example, probably the car will actually turn the inverter off. If you put it in neutral, it also turns the inverter off, or if you put it in park. From that point of view, the system should be safe. It shouldn't actually go and do something, something wrong that can damage the car. I haven't actually had a chance to look at or try to decode the cruise control messages, because to do that I need to drive and also look at the CAN messages. So at some point I'm going to have to get somebody to drive the car and press all the buttons and see what it does. But I have managed to get all of the CAN messages that tell you what gear is in and what mode it's in. So for example, whether it's in sports or normal or eco, and also the regen level. So for the testing that I did with the one pedal driving, what I did was I set the regen level. So if you set your regen level to 1, then you will have about the same amount of regen level as what the car has now in level 3, except that it will come to a stop and it won't crawl. And if you put it on 2, it does about 50% of the full torque of the motor, and if you put it on 3, then you get full torque in both directions. There is also a power limit in terms of the regen, which I also have to make sure that when I'm doing regen, I do not feed any more than what the car is expecting, and that's around about 50 kilowatts. So that means that I have a few options. One is I limit the amount of torque to make sure that the braking torque is always the same, or the other one is I limit the torque to make sure that I do not exceed 50 kilowatts, but obviously as the car slows down, you can apply more torque to get the 50 kilowatt limit, which means that as the car slows down, the regen braking gets stronger, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing.
What's it like to drive with the new level 3?
It's really good. Just like the AEVA, you floor and you take your foot off, and it doesn't lock up the wheels.
It's like nearly slamming the brakes on, is it?
Yeah, not that strong, but it's actually a lot stronger. So you probably you will basically get somebody to hit the windscreen if they're not paying attention. So if you can imagine whatever the full torque you get when you're in drive and you floor it, so you will basically get more or less the same amount of braking. So it's almost like putting it in reverse and flooring it, except that I think on the car, if you do that, it won't go very fast. I think it's got some limit. But effectively, you get a lot of braking to the point where you basically wouldn't have to use the brakes at all.
Do you want to talk about the headlights and the Bajero?
Yep. So.
It doesn't matter, it's long, we can cut it off.
Yep, okay. So I've been converting my Pajero to electric, and what I've been doing so far is trying to get all of the accessories to work on CAN bus. So I've got the doors.
Does everyone know what CAN bus is?
It's like a communication system for the cars. So instead of having wires to go to everything, you actually have a little bit like a network. So you send a message, and then there is a controller at the end of of whatever thing you want to control, and then that can do whatever you want. So for example, on a door you might have, you've got all your up and down buttons, and you got the thing that moves the window up and down and all that. So you might need about 20 wires to actually control all of the different accessories. So with a CAN bus, what you do is you put a board that has got switches to control all of those things, and then to communicate with that board, you might have maybe 4 wires, 2 for power and 2 for the communications. So basically it means you don't have to have all those 20 wires going to your dash or switches or whatever else. The other advantage also is that you can just send messages to all the different controllers, which means that you can control it from anywhere where you can actually get a message. So potentially you could have a modem on the car and control it remotely, pretty much the same way as what Tesla does with their, you could potentially drive the car without even being inside the car. So CAN bus makes it very convenient to do lots of things. And if you want to add extra features, you just need to add a controller for whatever feature you want and then send the appropriate messages without having to run extra wiring. So I've actually done all the tail lights as well, and this is a video of me testing the headlights. So one of the things that I did was I can actually control the amplitude, the brightness of all the lights. So this is the CAN bus connection. So you can see I've got basically two wires for CAN bus and 2 wires for power. And then the board that I showed earlier, this board here, basically makes messages depending on what buttons I press, and it sends it to the car, which then controls the headlights. Or so I could open the windows, or lock, unlock the doors, all of that sort of stuff through that pair of wires. So I could actually put, say, a modem onto that and then send the messages remotely. So you can do all sorts of things, like basically what you do with Tesla. So you can see I can adjust the level, the brightness of the lights.
This is a 2002 Pajero, by the way, so it's maybe looks modern with these new lights, but it's
the lights
got those old, ones that tend to fade up. Look scaly and that type of thing. That's what was in there before. So
yeah, so you can see I can control the brightness with so every bulb in the car can be controlled separately, and I can control the brightness of every bulb on every headlight independently. With this control box, because I don't have enough buttons, then obviously I cannot control each one individually, but I could potentially turn, the right-hand side high beam to a certain brightness, and the left-hand side high beam or low beam to whatever other brightness. I've also modified the headlights because they have, when I dim it a little bit, you can actually see it's got 4 LEDs on the bottom, which originally on these headlights were always on. So I replaced them with 2 color LEDs so that I can actually run, sequences on, like what you get on the new cars where you got the indicator running along. So I figured, why not, right?
So sooner or later, this car is going to be dancing along the side of the Model Ys.
Yeah, it's only a question. It's only a question of how much time I want to waste writing software to make it do silly things like that. But it would be able to do that sort of stuff.
For those of you who aren't that familiar, this is also a dual motor 4-wheel drive Pajero that Francisco's built from all the motors that were still in the middle of doing the battery, aren't you? So
yeah,
he's doing all this stuff as well because you kind of got to do this step before you put the carpet down and put all the interior back in. So this wiring step has to be done first if you want all the gimmicks on your car.
Yeah, so I basically run all the CAN bus through the entire car and put all the controllers and basically put all the hardware in to make sure that if later on I want to add more stuff, I can always just tee onto those wires. At some point, it gets to the point where I don't actually have enough buttons inside the car to actually control all of these things. So I'm probably going to end up having to do something like what Tesla does, where you got a screen and you got to have a menu. So for example, this car, originally it didn't have heated mirrors and it didn't have the folding mirrors, and now it does. But I don't have a button to actually turn the heated mirrors on or to fold them in and out, because it didn't come with that. So the same, I'm gonna put heated seats and a few other things.
So just to explain, this didn't have yellow LEDs in these headlights, and it didn't have the ability to flash. So that's something Francisco's made this car do.
Yes. So
very, very interesting.
The headlights are actually an aftermarket one that you can buy. But like I said, they don't normally light up yellow. They're only white, and they only come on with the driving lights, which this car also didn't have. So that means that somehow I need to put some kind of interface to make sure that I can turn all these things on and off.
Were you going to ask a question, Peter?
So you don't have high and low leads anymore?
Yeah, it does. It still has the two. Well, it
No,
does.
he has the ability to do that,
Yeah. So
but
basically,
it does have high beam and low beam.
it's still got the two bulbs for high beam and low beam, but I can actually control the intensity of them. And I can control the intensity of each bulb separately. So for example, I could have the right-hand side brighter than the left-hand side, or the other way around, or any of that stuff, right? So in the beginning, obviously, I'm just going to set it to work the same as original, where when you turn your high beam on, it just tells it to go full brightness. But at some point, when I come up with some idea as to why I would want to change the brightness, I might put some other method of changing the brightness. You might have something like when a car is coming, you turn one light off, or I don't know, something.
One of the other ideas is when the car's charging, it's actually going like glowing like that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do
I can't wait till
something.
you set that up. Actually, I really want to see that. And charge port.
Oh yeah, I got the charge port at the front.
It's
Hang on.
underneath the number plate.
Yeah, I think there's another. If you go back to the videos,
Liz, can you just flick one over?
if you go back to the videos, there is one, I think. I think that one. That one there. So originally I was going to put the charge port in the petrol cap, but it was just getting a little bit too difficult to run the cable, so I decided to put it at the front. So that might be a bit easier to run the cables. If I put the charging port on where the petrol cap used to go, then the wires need to go all the way from the petrol cap pass through the battery to the front where the onboard charger is. So that means that the wiring needs to be attached to the battery, which means that if I remove the battery, then I got to remove the charging port, and then I got to cut some metal in the charging port, and then eventually a friend of mine suggested, why don't we put it at the front? And I said, we need to cut the grill. And then eventually we came to the conclusion that putting it behind the number plate sounded like a good idea. So we've stuck that in there. So that'll make it easier. Sorry?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sort of.
He's already used to that.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit low, and I'm kind of a bit concerned that a lot of water might actually get sprayed there. But I guess I'll try it and see how it goes. It will make it easier for now because the cables only need to go from there to the onboard charger, which is at the front. So that means that I don't have to run the cables through the battery, and I still need to have a pair of contactors. And obviously, if it went through the battery, then I would have to put the contactors inside. So it just makes it harder to troubleshoot, or in the building when I need to take the battery in and out a few times while I'm building it. Eventually, it might be possible to put it in where the petrol cap used to go, but we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
So that's.
I mean, I know this sounds like it's been an action project. I've got that exact car sitting there in the use at the moment.
Yeah.
Be careful, he'll buy it off you.
What's your outlay be without the time?
Look, you're probably looking at maybe $30,000 or $40,000 for the parts. Sorry?
What kind of battery are you putting in?
I'm making the batteries. I'm using pouch cells, and it's liquid cooled, and it's kind of a bit complicated, but we did have it in here before.
We had it here like a month or two ago, but essentially he's building the frame up himself. They're long pouch cells. He's doing all the framing. It's going to have liquid cooling. So we've got manifolds and pipes and stuff like that. But it's going to be about 80 kilowatt hours.
I think it's 82. I can get 82
kilowatt hours. Building his own battery pack. He built the motors. Building everything.
And the battery goes under the. Sorry? Well, I'm going to get the battery to go. The battery goes under the body, so it'll be like a proper EV. You know, it's not like a lot of the conversion. They've got, you know, half the batteries in the engine bay and another one in the back in the boot, and they're all over the place. This one, the batteries are actually under the floor, and it just happens that you know, four-wheel drives have got a very big hole underneath, so the batteries fit there, and the ground clearance is going to be almost I think if it's not higher than the original car, it's going to be about the same. So it's probably going to have the same or better ground clearance than before, even about the same as the original. So the weight is going to be about the same. The engine and the transfer case are actually not light. You know, they're about 500 kilos. So the batteries and the two motors are about the same amount of weight. So if it ends up heavier, it's not going to be by much. And it's got heaps more power. I think
we might continue this conversation because we haven't even spoken about your Atto 3 yet.
Well, I just got it, so I can't really tell you anything.
Can't tell us anything about it. Well, how about why did you buy the Atto 3?
Because Christo wanted a BYD, and at the time when we needed to buy a car, we could only get an MG.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you've got the MG earlier version, and
yeah.
How many Ks has this got on it now?
This one, about 50.
50 Ks, okay, very good. I really appreciate bringing that in. So initial thoughts in your 50 kilometre drive?
The region, not having enough region is really annoying. Because you know, like you take your foot off and it doesn't slow down enough.
Used to?
Yeah, the MG has got a lot more region, and we drive the MG in sports mode mainly because the region comes on quicker, so it's easier to drive. But the sports mode makes the accelerator a little bit touchy, so the only reason we drive it in sports mode is just so that the delay is less. Now, the BYD feels, compared to the MG, it feels in sports mode with a high region, it feels almost the same as the MG in normal with a level 1 region. So it's kind of a bit of it's like, you know, my wife basically screams every time she takes the foot off because, you know, she takes the foot off and the car doesn't slow down, and she's expecting that it will. But other than that, it's very nice. It's very quiet. The seats are actually a lot nicer. The cruise control doesn't use the mechanical brakes, which is apparently a very important feature.
How much when did you order it, and how much did you pay?
I think we ordered it about 5 days after it came on, and it was 48,000. Sorry?
Was it February?
Yeah, February, something like that. Because when it came on, we were thinking, you know, because we already had the MG and this kind of does what we need to. And then we were thinking, well, you know, do we buy it or not? But she really wanted to have a BYD. So we put the order in, so we're going to sell the MG.
You don't have enough projects to already work on, right?
No, I just got to make sure that I finish the one pedal thing for the MG so that I can...
Next month it's the wiring on the BYD in the engine bay.
Well, I think she wants me to fix the region too.
Yeah.
So I ordered it in May, and I looked at it last week in the Quilly, which grows as a Volvo.
Yeah.
And my concern is around, well, I mean, it's all been all the warranty stuff, but this safety rating that came up on the weekend, and I'm quite concerned about taking the car on if there's going to be a recall, or if it's not going to achieve the 5-star safety rating.
It got 5 stars in New Zealand, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, but they don't have a middle seat roof attachment for a car seat, and apparently in Australia we will not get a 5-star rating without that. So there's talk that they're going to stop deliveries and recall the ones that have already been delivered to do that, to achieve a 5-star safety rating.
Do you need that?
I don't need it, but it has an impact going forward around resale value if it doesn't qualify for the 5-star rating.
I'm not very sure, you know, like if people need a car and they don't need to put a seat in there, I don't think anybody cares.
Cars have 5-star safety rating in Australia now.
Most cars.
Now, there's another thing. They told me when I picked it up, they told me that they will fix up the, you know, the middle hook on the first service. So when I take it for service, they said they're gonna, I don't know, cut a hole and put something in it.
So
But
they're basically going to do that?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I think what they, well, I'm assuming that what they're doing is they're giving out the cars, and then they're gonna come up with a fix, and then when you take it to the first service, then they'll fix that up. You know, we probably have, I mean, what is it? I think it's 1500 Ks, is it?
1,500 to change the original oil in the motor.
Yeah, well, I'll probably
check
take
the spark plugs.
Yeah, it'll probably be there next month, I think. So I'll let you know for the next meeting if they changed it, because I'll probably have done 1,500 K by the next meeting.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And is 48,000? Is that there was 2 trim levels? So is this the top one?
Yeah, this is the long range.
Long range. Okay. And what's is it 60 kilowatt or?
I think it's 60. I can't really remember, but it says 400 kilometers on the estimated range.
Okay. We'll put that to the test.
Yeah, we'll see.
And the charging speed?
Yeah, I haven't actually tried it yet.
Yeah, I'll put that to the test.
But yeah, we can try it.
We're going to go for a run up to Coochiemudlo Creek and we'll test it out or something.
I think that might be a bit of a waste.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll charge that fast. I reckon maybe 60 or 80 kilowatt hours, 80
right.
kilowatts.
Yeah. Any questions, guys?
Anything, it looks a bit smaller than the ZX. Is it?
Sorry?
In compare to these other.
It feels sort of bigger. It seems to have more space in between the two seats. So you know how you got an armrest on the MG. This one, the armrest is bigger, so I think 2 people can put their elbow. Other than that, it kind of feels very similar.
Okay.
Are you going to do a demo?
Yeah, I guess.
I will.
Are the online Zoom people?
Sorry?
Is anyone on there? Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, any more questions?
All right. Well, thank you very much. You're a very interesting guy. That's all I can say, mate. And look, we do spend a fair bit of time together. We don't. Francisco has a workshop not too far away from my place, so I do go over there and get to experience this fun stuff that he does. So I think it's interesting for him to give us an update. Just interestingly, I took my car in for its 45,000 Ks 3-year service. I'm at 55,000 Ks, but you know, they replaced the software and they washed my car, but I'm getting my battery replaced next week. So yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with my battery, but you know, who's going to knock back a free battery, hey? So that's the Kona fires that happened in South Korea 3 years ago. I asked them what happens to the other batteries. They said they are, what did they say? They are sustainably recycled or something. And I said, oh, that's just a stupid waste, you know. So yeah, can I do a deal to keep the battery? But yeah, look, I guess they can't really tell which ones are affected with the anode and cathode, which is the actual problem, inside the pouches. So I guess there's no other option other than to scrap them all. Maybe get the materials and make some more batteries out of them. I'm not sure, but I had a feeling they went to Melbourne and got recycled, but subject kind of makes me a little bit angry, so I don't look into it too much. But they go back to Hyundai or whatever anyway. But all right, well, thank you. Tonight I bought the snacks, so there's nicer snacks on offer than normal. Let's go and have a coffee. No ice Vovos. No, someone leave me one ice Vovo, okay? All right. Thank you very much, and we'll break and have the social chat. Thank you very much.